I've personally seen The Office all the way through over 50 times, so I wanted to answer the question, what made The Office such a captivating and successful show? Was it the actors, the writing, the absurdity? Today I'm going to talk about what made The Office great, and that's enough yapping for me, so let's get started.
Are rocking the sales team. I feel very blessed.
One of the big things that made The Office so great was their amazing cast that got together for this. They had a lot of people who were relatively unknown, but still absolutely nailed every scene they were in. They had people who had been in a couple roles, going back and forth with people like Kathy Bates, which is insane. I wanted to take a second and talk about some of the characters these actors played.
Oh, you said that I'd be conducting the interview when I walked in here. Now, exactly how much pot did you smoke?
Everyone knows a guy like Jim, the cool guy at school who always kept a cool head and everyone kind of liked. He's so great for the show because he's the straight man. He is supposed to be the mirror for us watching the show. No matter how many crazy things are going on, he realizes they're crazy as well. He gives great insight into how a normal person would react in situations that they're in. Jim is one of the four main people the show follows and is probably the closest to a protagonist. It's always fun seeing him flustered and reacting to all the wild stuff going on around the office.
I just want to say that this was the best Dundies ever!
Okay.
The main female lead and Jim's partner in crime is Pam. Pam is another character that is a good way for the audience member to see from a normal perspective. The biggest difference from her to Jim is how much she will lean into the crazy sometimes. She really loves The Office, and in a way knows it better than anyone else. She wants to help every member of the office, and she's very caring towards them. She will die on certain hills if she's sure she's right, like the time when the microwave was gross or when Michael was dating her mom. Pam isn't my favorite character, but I really like how she helps all the different people in the office and how she gets along with them.
He's making you look like such a fool.
He really is, but not for long.
Oh, God!
I think Dwight is a great character. He's the cause of a lot of the chaos in the show, but like Jim, everyone knows a person like him. The dork that is super sure he's the most equipped for any given situation. Almost like grown-up ROTC kids that never really grew up. But he's also the person in the show that I think would do the best in a zombie apocalypse. He is as equipped as he pretends to be. For more than one reason, he would be the best in any survival situation. I also love his friendship towards Jim, and not towards, but with Jim and Michael, and I'll get into those later, though.
That's what she said.
Michael, please.
Finally, maybe the actual protagonist, Michael Scott. Michael is unique as a character because you start off really not liking him at all. He was written too much like his British counterpart, and he was not very likable. But something interesting happens throughout the show. You begin to care about Michael and understand him a little bit. Slowly but surely, you start to root for him and even get sad whenever he ends up leaving. He's annoying and overbearing, but at the end of the day, he's a good boss who cares for his employees and, more importantly, a good guy a lot of the time. I also think he's incredibly funny and ends up being most of the heart of the show. But it's not just the main characters that bring a lot to the table. The rest of The Office is pretty great too. I'm going to take a little time talking about the rest of the characters in The Office.
Say bandit!
Angela is the office bitch, and that's me putting it lightly. She's overly religious, but doesn't really have the morals of someone like that. She's also actively mean to just about everyone, especially Kevin. Her being mean to him is pretty funny, though. But we do get to see Angela in different situations, and she does get a little better throughout the years, but I really enjoy just her as a character. She's someone that everybody knows. Speaking of Kevin, it's his turn now. Kevin is the dumb big guy who's always making me laugh. Most laughs come at the expense of him, though, because when I say he's dumb, I mean it. Kevin is also a very good friend and will always stick up for his friends when that's needed. 2 times when that comes to mind for me is when he tells Jim he has his back if Roy fights him or wants to fight him because there was a rumor going around that Jim liked Pam. And when the senator is really shitty to Oscar and Angela, he calls him out. So he may be the stereotypical, like, dumb and big guy, but he's a good dude.
We don't need to.
Yes, we do.
What?
Since we're almost done with accounting, let's finish up with Oscar. Oscar is the only gay character on the show that we know of. And other than that, and him being the most mature person in the office, he didn't have many character traits until the later seasons. Once it was like further on in the show, they made him kind of the know-it-all and kind of a douche. I really liked it. He was always smart, but that kind of made him, I don't know, he turned into a bit of a know-it-all tool, and I don't know, I liked it.
My shirt. Oh, yeah. I packed it in my purse.
Meredith was another character that didn't really get any development until the final episode, when it revealed that she was working on her master's the whole time. She was the horny alcoholic that was always exposing herself and getting wasted. She was always just being crazy, and things didn't change too much for her. She was essentially the female Todd Packer, unfortunately. But now for the real crazy one. Creed is my favorite character in the show. He isn't used a ton throughout the show, but every time they did use him, it was chaotic perfection. He was always so weird, and I loved every lore drop that they had for him. He was truly the embodiment of chaos. Creed also may have been a murderer, but that's a topic for another day.
Well, I hope you're still committed, because I'm pregnant.
Kelly is maybe the most realistic character in the entire show. She talks too much, only cares about celebrities, and just wants to online shop all day. She's like a walking, talking mall, and I love it. She's played by Mindy Kaling, who is a writer for the show as well. You can tell too because her dialogue during the show and her toxic relationship with Ryan are some of the best things that the entire show has to offer.
Who was that?
Nobody. You and I are done.
Speaking of Ryan, we have another writer, BJ Novak. I love watching the show and watch Ryan's uprising, then downfall, and then honestly spiral. He started off as a normal guy, but The Office seemingly turned him into a crazy person. He's always looking for ways to scam people out of money or hook up with someone that isn't his girlfriend Kelly. Ryan is so toxic, and I always love when he's in the background just doing random things at office events.
Aaron HR is a joke. I can't do anything about anything.
Everybody loves to hate Toby, who is another writer on the show, by the way. He's just a chill HR rep who is hated so much by Michael that it's hilarious. He's never doing anything to deserve it, but he is just always so hated by Michael. Toby has some of the worst luck too. He's always getting left out or yelled at. It's honestly unfair. A lot of people hate Toby, but personally, I've always liked his character. Now let's talk about some of the salesmen. Andy was a later addition than most, but he became a series staple in the show. He was annoying at first, but then became a pretty cool character, and then a terrible one again. He became one of the more important characters in the show, and even became manager at one point. He really took over as the heart of the show after Michael left, in my opinion. He was another character that we grew to love, just like Michael.
But on pretzel day, well, I like pretzel day.
Stanley is the grumpy older character that is just waiting for either death or retirement, whichever comes first. He's always just doing crossword puzzles and meetings, doesn't take any interest in his job, and even falls asleep whenever he can. Stanley is numb to all the crazy in the office. He's been there long enough to not only have Michael as a boss, but he even had Ed Truck as well. Stanley also happens to be a bit of a man whore, which has always perplexed me, but it added much more to his character.
What the hell?
Phyllis was always good at defying expectations to me. She should be the sweet motherly character, but sometimes she pops off and is a bitch, and I'm totally here for it. Two times that come to mind when thinking of this is blackmailing Angela, because she's sleeping with Dwight when she's engaged to Andy, and telling Pam that she can't just give Jim sales because they're sleeping together. Then she calls her a trout, which is crazy. I love how much Phyllis was always down for fun. She never brought the vibes down, ever.
Add it all up, and what do you get? 16. And he treats her like she's a perfect 40. It's nuts.
The last of the office workers in this segment I wanted to talk about was Erin. I always really liked Erin. She was just so kind and silly. She brought an energy that Dunder Mifflin didn't really have at the time, and that was youth. She was always so funny too. I love how she's not super smart, and she often gets into silly situations because of it.
Stealing kisses from me on the slide, taking time to make time.
Now I'd like to talk about a few characters that weren't mainstays in The Office, but they did spend a significant amount of time in there. They were also all characters that I just really wanted to talk about.
Go get him. Oh!
Daryl's one of the only people in this group that could have realistically been a part of the other group as well. I really like Daryl as a character. He starts off as kind of a bully, always being mean to Michael, even when Michael deserves it, to be fair. But when he eventually moves up to the office, he changes. He no longer acts like a high school jock and makes friends with these weirdos. I really like his arc and thought Daryl was one of my favorite characters, honestly.
Shut up about the sun! Shut up about the sun!
Then there's my least favorite character in the entire show. Gabe is the reason why I hate my name being shortened to Gabe. He's so weird and creepy, just everything he does in the show makes me like him less. I think he was really well written and played though, because this is definitely exactly the reaction that they were wanting from his character.
Is why I do it. That's what I have to come home to.
Jan was oddly enough one of my favorite characters in the entire show, but I don't mean early Jan, I mean crazy Jan, because she does hit a breaking point in the show where she goes from like a corporate executive to throwing a Dundee at Michael's plasma screen TV. Her downfall is so interesting to watch, especially because it's when her and Michael were dating. I love her randomly showing up later in seasons because she's just about as crazy as Creed, and it just makes the show more fun.
This is beet food.
Mose, what are you doing? No, Mose, put the manure down!
Lastly, we have Mose. Mose is so funny and fun to watch. He has all of Dwight's weird qualities, but none of the social interaction that Dwight has learned to be able to do over the years. I love knowing that he's just another writer for the show, and he's written a lot of NBC shows. He's just writing himself to be incredibly weird, though. Mose is one of my favorite characters on the show, for sure.
Show. Middle of a workday?
No.
Okay, I know I said that Mose was the last one, but I wanted to do a quick shout out to David Wallace. He's the most patient man in the universe and probably the best boss that we ever saw on the show, in my opinion. Now I'd like to talk about some of the relationships in the show that make it as good as it is. I'm going to talk about 5 different ones of varying importance in the show overall.
Listen, Jim.
This is the main relationship everyone thinks about when it comes to The Office. The Jim and Pam will they won't they really made some of the early episodes just twice as good. I love watching them flirt and slowly realize they have feelings for each other. Well, for Pam at least, because Jim has liked her since like minute 1. Their first kiss, their first date, and the proposal all stand out as great moments in the show. I personally even like seeing them go through marriage issues later during the show, because that, I don't know, it showed that they were human too. My only drawback is that I like their dynamic much better before they got married.
Can I kiss you?
Yeah.
Okay.
This was another relationship that you could tell was coming as soon as they shared the screen. Michael was always looking for his soup snake because at the end of the day, he was a romantic. And Holly was absolutely perfect for him. She was just as weird and dorky and silly as him. I like to see how they broke up and got back together down the road. They were truly perfect together.
1,000!
That's not worth it.
1,000 going once, 1,000 going twice.
These two maybe love each other too much. Hearing their stories and seeing them shows that it might be closer to obsession for them. But at the end of the day, anyone willing to pay $1,000 to hug their wife is a good husband.
That's good stuff.
This was one of the weirder relationships in the show. They at times absolutely hated each other, but always ended up being drawn towards each other. Angela even gets married and has a baby seemingly by another man at one point, but it didn't matter. At the end of the day, they loved each other. They were toxic to each other and their coworkers the whole time, but they did really love each other.
I'm so happy we were about to break up now, Ryan.
Now for the most toxic relationship in the show, maybe other than Michael and Jan. And to be fair to Kelly, a lot of it's Ryan's fault. He's constantly breaking up with her, cheating on her, and trying to find someone better. But to be fair, she also has faked pregnancy, and I don't know, Kelly's also a mess. But the way they fight 1 second and make out the next just shows how crazy and toxic their relationship was the entire show.
They own motorcycle store. Jim and Dwight Schrupert.
Not only were there great relationships throughout the show, but there were also some very good friendships as well. I love seeing all the friendships grow occasionally throughout the show, and I wanted to talk about a few of them.
I can't believe you came. That's what she said.
This is the friendship that I think of first and foremost when I think of The Office. Though usually Michael is an asshole at times, their friendship shines through. This is best shown in the very last episode. Michael cares about Dwight, and Dwight cares way too much about Michael. I love seeing them around, I don't know, just kind of like Batman and Robin. Dwight was always his little sidekick.
A bazooka. You remembered.
Of course I did.
Oddly enough, this part is going to have Dwight in a lot of them. This makes more sense from this one on because, I don't know, Jim and Dwight weren't friends at the beginning of the show. Jim would prank Dwight and Dwight would be a jerk back. But slowly over time, they became closer and eventually had a mutual respect for each other. It was that respect that eventually became friendship for them. This is one that probably gets overlooked by most people. Also, don't worry, this is the last one with Dwight. Pam was always much nicer to Dwight than he was to her or Jim was to him, and then there were a few times that Dwight really became a good friend to Pam. The 2 times that happens, and come to mind for me, are first when Pam is crying in the stairwell. She's sad because Jim and Karen are together and she wants to be with Jim, and Dwight comforts her. The second was when Dwight got a concussion on his way to pick up Michael because he cooked his foot on the George Foreman grill. Pam is very nice to him and seems to be the only one that even notices how oddly he's acting. But he was also very friendly to her at that time too. So I don't know. I just always liked seeing this little duo in an episode.
I'm really proud of you.
I think this is probably the sweetest of friendships in the show. Pam truly knows Michael better than anyone in the world. I love seeing scenes where Michael is like a father figure to Pam, or at least when he doesn't ruin it by trying to get with her. But these two are the reason that 2 of the sweetest scenes in the entire show happened. First, when Michael shows up to her art show and tells her how proud he is of her. She is at a very low moment, and him saying that, showing up, and buying her painting just had to make her feel amazing. Then, on the episode Michael was leaving, we got to see the goodbye with Pam at the airport. It really showed how far they had come as friends, and how far he had come as her father figure.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Lastly, I'm going to talk about this unlikely pairing. I truly think they only became friends through Andy just relentlessly trying to be his friend. They mostly hung out when they were playing music together, but I think Andy really helped Daryl come out of his shell when he moved up to the office. I truly think that by the time he left, he really did enjoy being friends with Andy.
To my chickens, I'm the Scranton Strangler.
The last thing I want to talk about in this retrospective are the different arcs the show goes through in its 9 seasons. They're all so different, and some of them might not even be considered arcs to you, but I'm going to go over a few of them to finish this video off.
No way in hell that I am going to say that we're broke.
Michael is disrespected and hates the new boss that they brought to babysit him. So what does he do? Try to wait it out? Nope. He quits. He then goes and starts his own paper company in the very same building. This is my favorite arc in the entire show. I love seeing Ryan, Pam, and Michael working together to make it happen. I love seeing Michael be a great salesman, but kind of a terrible businessman. It really shows how he got to be the manager at Dunder Mifflin Scranton. All that ending with the showdown against Wallace and Charles Minor. And all of that resulting with Michael and Pam back and Charles gone. Exactly what Michael wanted. Michael ended up winning, and it was truly a David versus Goliath moment. Another arc in the show is the Jim and Pam's Will They Won't They. I won't talk much about this because I talked about it before, but this is another great arc that I think really drove the show. I love seeing them flirt in the first episode just to end abruptly because Roy comes in. We didn't know that she was engaged at that time. We thought they were just 2 single coworkers, but her having a fiance really changes things. I like watching them fall more and more in love with each episode, and even more I love watching how much they miss each other in the random moments where they couldn't talk or where they were away from each other. This was a great arc that continued to evolve until they got married.
I think that he could counter that move. The Scranton Strangler is a professional strangler.
Oh, please, I wish he'd come after me. I would be like...
You're walking home at night and suddenly you're attacked. You were strangled until you passed out, but you weren't killed. You were the most recent victim of the Scranton Strangler. This arc was so interesting throughout the show because it gets brought up a ton. Whether it's Dwight claiming that he could take the Strangler, or them watching the car with him in it running away from the police. This also brought about quite a few theories who it might have been. The 3 main suspects, that I always hear at least, are Toby, Gabe, and Creed. Personally, I think if it's anyone, I think it's Gabe. He's so weird, and the strangling doesn't happen until he joins the show. I also think Creed would just be killing people, not strangling them. This arc is very interesting and comes back in the later seasons when Toby goes to visit him in jail because he was one of the people that got him sent to jail. So in conclusion, there are many different things that made this show as great as it was. All the actors, whether big names or not, coming together and giving it their all. The different friendships and relationships that just drove the emotion and the plot of this amazing show. And the fantastic writing that went into all different story arcs and character arcs. This is truly my favorite show in the world, and that became even more clear to me as I'm writing this. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Comment below what I should do a retrospective on next, because I've seen a lot of shows and a lot of movies, so just let me know what you think. Also, subscribe if you enjoy this, because I would love to see my channel grow some more and be able to do more things for y'all. But other than that, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next week. Bye.